They blew it?
They blew it. Many months ago, Fisch was very different. It was a calm, comforting RNG-based game, where you traveled to different areas to fish and complete the various bestiaries with relative ease. There wasn't the need to grind for hours on end to meet your goals, and you could play at your own pace while not missing much at all. It was a great experience for basically anyone. Completionists, grinders. In fact, it was great for anyone who just needed a break from games like this, or even this. They didn't shove a bunch of garbage microtransactions in your face for you to waste your hard-earned money on, and you did not need game passes to succeed. But as the days passed by, it started to change. It was discovered very early on by a massive game studio, and subsequently acquired. It's more like assisted management, because Fisch got too popular too quickly for the owner, Nate, to handle alone. Once everyone found out, the atmosphere immediately changed. Many had suspicions, but many were also fine with how things were, since there was a very straightforward promise by the higher-ups. There would be no pay to win, at all. On the surface, this sounded perfectly fine. It sounded great, actually, but I wasn't fully convinced, and neither were many others. There was something fishy about it. It became so much worse than I ever could have possibly imagined. B2W2 Studios is a very interesting entity, and they have very interesting ways of making money. The main problem that many saw with their acquisition of Fisch was that their money-making strategies would carry over from their other games, because as you probably know already, they own Blade Ball. I thought Blade Ball was crazy, but it gets so ridiculous that it makes you question if what they're doing is okay or not. At one point, they had a limited item for 35,000 Robux. You did not hear that incorrectly. If you spent real money to get that, it would have cost you well over 300 American doubloons. This item also had 1,000 units in stock. And after the necessary fees and taxes, B2W2 walked away with just a little bit over the yearly average American salary from one item. And of course, we can't forget about the crown jewel of B2W2, a dusty trip. 20 game passes, and a bunch of loot box garbage. There's such a stark contrast between the early days of that game and how it is today. It's just a little bit unsettling. A few months ago, I posted 2 videos about Fisch. There's one specific section from this video that I'd like to show you. I personally think that the whole Fisch isn't going to become pay-to-win thing is a distraction from the true goal, which is to monetize Fisch as well as possible without people complaining about it. And this is normal in every Roblox game, but in Fisch, it's kind of tricky. You can't really pay to win in a game that doesn't have anything PvP related. The closest thing to PvP in Fisch is flexing your catches on other people. And is that really winning? If you want to count other people paying to get rare stuff faster, that doesn't affect you at all. If you can't pay to win in this game, why did they say they would never add any pay to win stuff? Were they using the term pay to win loosely? Or were they being super specific so they could technically follow through with their promise while still filling the game with a bunch of garbage to sell to us? It turns out that it was all of the above, and they made sure to be as diabolical with it as humanly possible. First, it was the luck boosts. Right when B2W2 came into the picture, a purchasable 2x luck boost for 15 minutes appeared. Then, it became extendable to a 4x boost for a longer amount of time. And then, it became an 8x for even longer. You were easily able to farm the highest rarity of Fisch with this, at least when I was still playing. This method of luck boosting would eventually become obsolete, as things started to get just a little bit too crazy. Fisch started to add new Robux bundles quite often, with the items usually being pretty bad. But there was one thing that made these bundles actually enticing, and that was the server luck boost that came with them. It wasn't a 2x boost, or a 4x boost, or an 8x boost, or a 16x boost, but a 32x luck boost for the entire server. Luckily, you can only buy it once. Right? Fisch just happens to have a Game Pass gifting feature, and the bundle gives server luck, not individual luck. This means that you can buy the bundle for someone else in your server, getting that 32x luck as many times as you please. To make matters worse, they can stack it with the server luck from their own purchase as well as any other gifted player, and reach these insane numbers that nobody ever thought possible. And this isn't even the most ridiculous part. I was watching this video by midnight, and I decided to ask him a few things I was curious about. He ended up telling me the funniest thing I heard that week. Okay, that's not true. Some players will make a private server and then constantly invite people just so they can gift them the current bundle. It sounds like a nice deed, but it's really not. Gifting them the bundle in their private server activates the luck boost, which is all they care about, as after they're done gifting, they kick the gift recipient straight out. They see none of the luck boost, which nowadays is typically a ridiculous 64 times. At first glance, you might assume that this luck boost is only meant to be accessed once, but this has been a thing for months, and the abuse of the gifting system is clearly being allowed to continue on purpose. The real kicker in all of this is that luck does not work the way you might think it does. When luck gets boosted, it doesn't just increase the chances for higher tier fish. There's a hard cap set in place where luck boosting will stop being effective, and once you reach said cap, every fish will have the exact same catch rate. This is why people who've tried 1000x luck still get low tier fish. It's not actually luck. Luck isn't a real thing, it's just something we made up to make ourselves feel better. This is just weird RNG tomfoolery. The official wiki actually has a calculator that lets you see how effective server luck boosting is. I used a 105% luck rod as a basis, the no-life rod, and I set the area to the ocean with no other major factors involved. An 8 times boost makes mythicals the most common. Going up to 64 times makes legendaries, mythicals, and exotics all have the same catch rate. And if you're looking to get these rarities specifically, then going past 1 boost is pointless. A huge chunk of the player base doesn't know how luck actually works, so it's easy for them to think that constantly stacking server luck would be overpowered, when in reality going above 64 times doesn't bring any major benefits. Unless you want secrets. Obtainable fish and items have many rarities, but secrets are above all. Secrets are meant to be separate from the bestiaries and completing the game in general. They don't appear as fish or items that you have to get to complete everything. They're meant to be secret, a special thing that you find without trying. They're the highest rarity tier in the game, so naturally everyone's going to want to go for them. But at one point, multiple secrets were required to access a new area that had its own bestiary, and that bestiary is required to complete the game. The problem with this is that getting secrets isn't exactly a walk in the park. In the calculator I just showed you, the 2 secrets that are in the ocean have a 0.029% chance to be caught. That is ridiculously low. So low that you'll probably never come across one without any buffs. A 64x luck boost is essentially required if you don't want to spend days hunting for one of these things. 1 dose of it brings that number from 0.029% to 0.8%, which is quite a significant difference. But that number can go higher. Boosting again to 128 times luck makes these secrets go from 0.8% to 1.5%. Again, a much better catch rate than before. 192 times luck brings it to 2.1%, and every other fish has the exact same catch rate besides a few low tiers that actually become rarer than secrets. It's funny how this works. At 500 times luck, every rare fish and above have the exact same catch rate, even secrets. This will change depending on what location you're at and what rod you're using, but the point is, people found that boosting their luck with Robux was the most effective way to obtain secrets. People wouldn't have done this and still wouldn't be doing this today if it didn't feel necessary. It makes you think that it might be this way on purpose. Why would they lock such important stuff behind this rarity? And probably the worst thing they did with these items was lock a basic game mechanic behind them. Something so basic, like that the second you hear it, you're gonna facepalm. You had to grind these secret items just to get the ability to sprint. You're telling me I couldn't sprint until I found 3 incredibly hard to get secret items and made some boots? Maybe we were too hard on the sprinting game passes. Maybe we gotta give those a pass. There must have been complaints because they changed some of these secret items to just regular exotics, making them much easier to obtain. You can go to multiple videos about these secret items when they first released, and many of them are filled with comments complaining about how annoying and difficult it was to get the new stuff, and how it basically required server luck boosts. To top it all off, secrets are secret in name only. How can something be secret when it's announced to thousands of people? That doesn't make much sense to me. This game is owned by the Bladeball developers, and everyone's fishing rods look exactly the same. It's a good idea, but it was not carried out well at all. You can talk to this pathetic salesman and gamble your in-game money on skin crate loot boxes, but they just have the lame skins. You aren't even guaranteed a skin for a fishing rod that you actually have. The real good skins cost you Robux, and a decent amount of Robux at that. And of course, just like Blade Ball, Fisch started to receive limited skin drops. They would release a skin for a lot of Robux. I'm talking like $30 worth. They would give it a certain amount of stock, and once it sells out, you can't get it anymore. This type of system is already in a bunch of Roblox games, and even the Roblox website itself with limited U items. But Fisch limiteds are worthless. Unless you consider one random person noticing yours and complimenting you for spending a lot of money on it. You can't even trade it or resell it. To me, it seems kinda stupid to release these skins without a proper trading system and serial numbers for limited items. But you gotta remember, players will see the word limited and go right to the buy button. That's all that matters. The limited vehicles and boats are just as dumb, if not worse, mainly because of how expensive they can get. Take a gander at the Hollywave Cruiser, 4,500 Robux with 30,000 units. Was this a joke? I checked up on this item using the official wiki, and it got taken off the shop after 2 weeks because it just wouldn't sell out. I feel pretty bad for anyone who actually wasted $50 on this because it got overshadowed by literally every other vehicle that came after it. Dubig must be happy though because they probably walked away with a ton of cash. And they make sure to show you each limited boat that's available by putting them on autopilot so they cycle around. And for some reason this pathetic salesman takes up a spot. Get him out, please. I really did think I was done with this section, but it gets so much worse. While I was watching that Midnight video, he mentioned a specific skin that went through some shady business. The Slimebound skin for the No Life Rod initially had 3,000 copies, and they all sold out very quickly. But then it restocked. The stock for the Slimebound skin went up from 3,000 to 10,000, which is completely unfair to the original 3,000 owners who spent $10 on that skin. And this isn't even the only skin that they did this with. Another Rod skin had its stock refilled, and they even altered the stock of the Hollywave Cruiser from 30,000 to 10,000 because it just wasn't selling out. You can't just do that. When a limited item has a set amount of stock, the customers purchase it under the assumption that it won't ever get a restock because there are other rod skins or vehicles that also have time limits, but they have infinite stock. It's also a digital item, which means it can have any amount of stock that the developers please. So it makes perfect sense to assume that it would never be restocked. But no, fuck the customer. You've probably noticed one very specific thing with a few of the features that I've talked about. The sales. Almost every single shop item in Fisch has some sort of markdown or sale on it, even when it had just released. Some of them are actually reliable, like the Bobber bundles, but most of them, and I gotta be really careful with my words here, probably aren't the most authentic looking sales. Typically when something goes on sale, it's already had enough time to sit in a shop for a decent amount of time. Items in high demand don't often get discounted, so it's kind of odd when an item goes on sale the same day it's released. It doesn't really make any sense at all. I personally think that they release an item or bundle without a sale for a very short amount of time, like a minute or two, and then they add the sale right after, so they can technically say that it wasn't on sale before. I'm not gonna say the sales are the actual prices of the items because I don't know for sure what they do, but I think that's how it is. You can form your own opinion on it, but I think it's a shitty practice and it shouldn't be allowed. Hollywave Cruiser, we will never forget you. You deserved better. The most recent garbage feature to grace Fisch are these egg loot boxes that are somehow already marked down by nearly 50%. Opening an egg gives you a chance at items. Items that aren't even that overpowered, like the option to buy 10 at once suggests they are. If you don't want to pay Robux for these eggs, don't worry. Fisch made sure to prioritize the free-to-play community by giving them the worst possible experience. The free versions have laughably horrible rates. You have a 6% chance to get a cosmetic crate, which then has a 0.001% chance to contain a specific skin for the Heaven's Rod. The Robux egg has a 10% chance to give you a legendary cosmetic case, which then gives you a 3% chance to get this specific skin. That's f***ing ridiculous. And the stupidest part is that there's only a 5% chance to catch the free eggs from fish hunts in the first place. The Robux version has rates which are so much better that it might make you question grinding for the free stuff rather than paying. It's pretty funny how they just have these data tables on their official wiki as if it's just fine and dandy. Like, it's okay. This is fine. Here's a fun fact. Australians cannot buy loot boxes on Roblox because of stupid bullshit like this. Good job, Australia. This update was so bad that it made multiple developers quit. And apparently, they're adding pets next. I cannot wait to see how that plays out. One thing I can respect is that the game passes stayed mostly the same. I'm not sure if I'm going to continue respecting that because the developers clearly want you to spend your money elsewhere. I quit in the middle of December. The way the game was headed was just not what I'd hoped for. Instead of keeping the same vibe from before, it felt like it was going down a path that I had no interest in. The presence of Doobig made me worried about how the game would look in the future, and I was just hitting my limit. I was at the point of grinding money over and over again, but for what? I wasn't feeling like I accomplished anything. I was gonna get the new rod, but why? All I knew was that the numbers would just keep increasing, and new fishing rods would come out that would leave the previous ones in the dust. It would just be a never-ending cycle. And what about the fish? I remember getting excited for fish like the colossal squid, even though I'd already been playing the game for dozens of hours at that point. Thanks to the luck boosting mechanics, getting a mythical fish didn't even feel special anymore. They even had to add a brand new rarity above mythical, presumably because even they knew that it wasn't that special anymore. Limited time events constantly came out, but if they were happening so often, why should I even bother completing them when at some point there would be so many limited fish that none of them would actually matter? One of the biggest red flags for me showed itself late last year. Soon after Doobig took over, they pretty much just started releasing blade ball swords in place of actual fishing rods. In the earlier days, the rods looked cool without being too flashy, and they were inspired by their locations. Now they just look like lightsabers or Bible-accurate angels. What is that? That is not a fishing rod. You could be fishing all by your lonesome in a cozy spot, and then someone comes in to use their rod's orbital laser ability on a cod. Don't get me started on the descriptions of some of these things either. I swear, some of these are made with ChatGPT, or just the smallest amount of effort, or just none at all. A heavenly rod with glowing floating parts and a divine halo, emitting mythical particles and celestial animations. I do not believe that a human being came up with that and thought it sounded fine for one of the most expensive rods in the game at the time that has an actual unlocking method. At least put some spice into it, like, this rod glows with the light of the heavens above, bestowing immense luck and good fortune upon the angler that wields it, or something. Come on. I'm not the only one who's unhappy with how things turned out. As I've been making this video, tons of others have come out showing all of these different perspectives and comments on how Fisch kinda stinks nowadays. I think Fisch was gonna lose its touch eventually, even if Doobig never got involved. The way the game works just doesn't give it nearly as many years in the tank as a game like Bloxfruits has. But what never had to happen was a world record speedrun of the game losing its charm, completed by none other than Doobig themselves. Nobody, not one soul, likes what they've done, and it went on for far too long. Fisch is no longer an escape from the big league games, because now it's become one of them. People clearly want change, but is change ever going to happen? Kinda. As I was making this video, they released the Second C update. They said they heard all of our criticism and decided to try to bring back the old feeling of Fisch. They attempted to do this by creating a completely new area where you lose access to some C1 features like the credit currency, making it feel almost like a soft reset. It was explained that it's meant to be a fresh start, and that it's meant to capture the feeling of Fisch before they came and destroyed it. Of course, that's not what they actually said, but that's what it means. I'm seeing a lot of people say it sucks, and a smaller amount of people saying that it's actually pretty good. Only time will tell, I guess. I would check it out, but my level just isn't quite high enough. Guess I'll just use a macro.